What you're about to see here is a Council on Foreign Relations forum about fake news. And the former editor at Time magazine, a guy named Richard Stengel, admitted something here that he's probably regretting now.
You'll be the last question, but I just want to weigh in on that for 1 second. So there's another word for master narratives. It's called history. Basically, every country creates their own narrative story. And you know, my old job at the State Department was what people used to joke as the chief propagandist job. We haven't talked about propaganda. Propaganda, I'm not against propaganda. Every country does it, and they have to do it to their own population. And I don't necessarily think it's that awful. And this idea of a news cartel, the gentleman right there, last question.
I don't think you want to address an issue in terms of understanding what happened in the world. Because what is happening in America is what the United States flipped on the global south and in the third world, which we live with for many, many years in terms of a master narrative that was and still is propaganda.
You know what? I hate last questions. Don't you? I usually just want to end something before the last question. But at any rate, I want to thank this fantastic panel here today. And I do want to say, I actually think, the talk about optimism, the optimism is all of you there.
That is an unbelievable video clip. And that is, living proof of Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent. The whole idea of that is you get a picture painted of the world that is more subservient to U.S. state power through corporate media than you get through state media in other governments. So do you understand what that means? That means where there are state governments, they're supposed to be probably beholden to their funders. So RT is funded by Russia, Al Jazeera is funded by Qatar. You go down the list. The way an American would think about that is, well, state-funded media apparatus, obviously they're going to be biased in favor of that, whoever's funding them, whatever state is funding them. And that's true to an extent, for sure. But this notion that, well, hey, the U.S. is different because we don't have state media. We have NPR, but corporate media in the U.S., there's a level of independence in our media because it's corporate, so it's not funded directly by the government. So therefore, they have a level of independence that allows them to be more objective. Well, Noam Chomsky came along and he said, no, that's not the case. In fact, that's the opposite of the case. If you look at the empirical data, you find out very quickly that corporate media is actually more subservient to U.S. power than state media is to governments in other countries. So that's mind-boggling, but now you see that directly in front of your face. This guy said, oh, when I worked at the State Department, by the way, what? You worked at the State Department? When I worked at the State Department, they called me the chief propagandist. So a guy who worked at the State Department as the chief propagandist then became the editor of Time magazine. Weird how that works. It's almost like they're doing U.S. government propaganda on purpose. By the way, you go back and look. Even otherwise respected establishment outlets, go see how many U.S. wars they opposed at the time when the wars were being launched, and there was the build-up to the war. Virtually across the board, whether it's Washington Post, New York Times, they always support war. And now later on, years and years and years after when we've already been in it, then there's some dissenting like, I don't know about this. But it's always framed as a mistake or a blunder, never like an intentional criminal act where people should be brought to justice. But they always are for it. Look at the buildup. They're always for the wars, always. So that tells you that this is manufacturing consent. But these people, they get these positions of power. It's not like they know that they're giant pieces of shit and rank propagandists who are doing the bidding of the government. It's just that the way the system is built, those are the only people that get the promotions. So this idiot here, Richard Stengel thinks like, no, the reason I was picked to be the editor of Time magazine is because I'm a very serious person with serious beliefs and I'm very smart. That's what he thinks. But no, in reality, he gets hired because they go, oh, he's not going to rock the boat. He's going to paint a picture of the world that is the exact picture of the world that U.S. elites want to be painted. So, and that's why, man, look, like Wolf Blitzer, why the fuck is he? A lot of you guys look at you're like, he's so boring and nobody watches him. Why the fuck is he on TV? You tell me why he's on TV. He doesn't rock the fucking boat. He doesn't rock the boat. He's pro-establishment. Even in the framing of his questions. He doesn't even realize it, but that's why he is where he is. Remember when Rand Paul was questioning us arming Saudi Arabia? And Wolf Blitzer responded, what about the jobs of the people who make the weapons? Rand was like, dude, there's a genocide in Yemen right now with our weapons being done. And Wolf Blitzer literally was like, what about the jobs of the military-industrial complex? That's why he has that job. Because he's not going to rock the boat. He's not going to question authority. He's not going to go to the fundamental underpinnings of our society and go, something's off here. Maybe we should reevaluate this. And now you're seeing it right there. This guy went as far as to say, quote, every country creates their own narrative story, and every country has to do propaganda against their people. But see, this is how they spin it in their own mind. It's like, no. Yes, it's propaganda, but when we do it, it's noble. Well, jackass, that's what every propagandist throughout history has ever thought, ever. Whether you go to fucking Stalin in the Soviet Union, whether you go to Nazi Germany, you pick out the historical place and time and government, and I'll explain how, yes, that's what they thought. Well, when we do it, it's okay because we're standing up for the Enlightenment values and the proper perspective. Well, here's a radical idea. How about instead of, being a propagandist and admitting you're a fucking rank propagandist, why wouldn't you strive for objectivity and just empirical truth-telling, fact-checking, truth-telling, and being as rigidly objective as possible? Now, ultimately, even if you're being objective, yes, you're going to come to some strong conclusions, but at least we know that you're relying on your objectivity first and foremost. This guy's saying, no, we're not relying on our objectivity. We're doing propaganda, and we're doing propaganda against the American people because, hey, that's par for the course. That's the way the business works. Well, no, it's not. It's not. It shouldn't be. The way it should work is you value truth above all else. Because if you value truth above all else, well, then you're going to be willing to say some things that are unpopular now, aren't you? This idea, U.S. establishment media, they will not tell you just a dry, straightforward retelling of history, U.S. history. They're not going to say, okay, we're a nation that was founded on a giant contradiction. All men being created equal, but oh yeah, we have slaves. There was slavery, there was segregation, there was Jim Crow, there was the Trail of Tears and the Native American genocide. I mean, that's what that is. When you look at post-World War II, we are the world's sole superpower, and we are a vicious imperialist power that has no bones about killing civilians left and right as long as we can keep helping our corporations and as long as we can take natural resources from places where we have no right to take the natural resources. Are they going to explain it like that? Are they going to say, hey, we're the rogue state. We're the ones violating international law left and right. We're the criminal government. Are they going to explain it like that? No. Like I said, the worst they'd do is go, we made a mistake. Like Iraq, that was a mistake. It's just a mistake. A mistake? No, it was a war crime done on purpose. That's what it was. For the sake of profits for the military-industrial complex, for the sake of getting the natural resources, the oil from Iraq. In the case of Afghanistan, it had a lot to do with mineral wealth and opium. Trillions of dollars in mineral wealth in Afghanistan. This is why we really do the things that we do. We put a veneer over it of like, we care about freedom and democracy and human rights. Is that why we're backing 73% of the world's dictatorships right now? Is that why we're buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia? And as they're doing a genocide in Yemen because we love human rights and democracy, Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy and theocracy, an authoritarian country. And we have the nerve to say we care about democracy and human rights, but you can't point these things out objectively like I'm doing right now and work on those outlets. Those outlets will axe you so fast, it'll make your head spin. That's how fast they'll axe you if you say the things I'm saying right now. So, just so you know, corporate media and mainstream media, they're lying to you and they're propagandists. And in a moment of honesty, they just say it like they did right there. And by the way, the question that guy asked was, well, wait a second now. You're saying the propaganda is okay. Well, was it okay for the people in the third world? Was it okay for people in South America? And the reason he's bringing that up is the U.S.'s history with South America is, we overthrow your governments willy-nilly whenever we want and put in authoritarian puppets to do our bidding, and we don't care how brutally oppressed you are. Look at the banana wars. We literally, toppled governments so that we could steal bananas from South American countries, literally. So what that guy's saying is, you say it's harmless propaganda and it's okay. Ask somebody in South America if they think that's the case. They'll say, no, of course it's fucking not okay. You're lying to your people, you're lying to yourselves, and you're doing that as you continue to cover for the fact that you're acting as a thug in a global sense. And what's his response to that? I don't care about an objective perspective. I don't care about the perspective of other people around the world. I just care that I'm a rank propagandist, and that's okay. No, it's not okay. You might have to tell yourself that you can sleep at night, but we can all see through you, and you're a loathsome cretin.